Hello, today we're continuing in the A-Level Physics Revision series looking at elementary particles and the Standard Model. So far we've established that an atom has a central nucleus which consists of protons and neutrons, and it has orbiting electrons. But those electrons don't strictly orbit, because if they did they would spiral into the nucleus. They are actually waves, so they orbit in wave fashion, and as we showed in the video on atomic structure and electron energy levels, the electrons can only occupy certain energy levels, and that's the reason they cannot spiral in. They can only occupy certain energy levels, and that precludes them from moving in and colliding with the nucleus. We shall see in a later video that the protons in the nucleus are held together by what's called the strong nuclear force. If they were not held together, then the positively charged protons would repel one another and the whole nucleus would self-destruct. The question is, are the protons and the neutrons and the electrons the most basic form of particles? Well, as far as we know, there is nothing smaller than an electron. We cannot subdivide an electron. But we now know that protons and neutrons are made up of quarks. A proton has 2 up quarks and 1 down quark, and a neutron has 1 up quark and 2 down quarks. Quarks were essentially discovered by a man called Murray Gell-Mann in 1961. He was the one who had the opportunity to name them. And they look as though they ought to be pronounced quark, and I don't think there's anything wrong in calling them quarks. He wanted to call them quarks, so conventionally that's what we do. The name comes from James Joyce's Finnegan's Wake, where the line goes, 3 quarks for Muster Mark, sure he has not got much of a bark, and sure any he has, it's all beside the mark. Now that would suggest that since we're rhyming with bark and mark, it ought to be a quark. But Gell-Mann was very clear, he wanted it to be called a quark, so strictly that's what we ought to call it. And quarks are